Welcome to You Need Help from Operations, but you need good data first. Introducing our speakers, J. Turner Batdorf III, Senior Strategist at J. Turner Research, and Katie Mancuso Rice, Vice President of Sales and Marketing at JVM Realty.
When I worked on site, residents would drive me crazy. No 2 days were the same, and I would have these lofty goals. I'd come with a big to-do list. I was gonna close out my leads from the day before. I was gonna get my maintenance team ready for work orders, but then a move-in would come in early, an elevator would go down, something would go wrong. And all of this happened because I was truly thinking of residents living where we work. But in reality, we work where they live. All of this comes from a different shift. And I want to ask you to kind of think of that and put that on the shelf while we think about what does it mean to define a home. So now put your shoes in the residence, and what does a home look like for you? So put on your ruby red slippers and tell me, shout it out when you think of what does a home mean to you? Safety, warm, cozy, family, great one. Pets. I don't know, what about you, Turner? What does a home mean to you?
I would say comfort, sanctuary.
Comfort. I always think of the warm greetings. I don't know about you guys, but I had a concierge, Sandy, that has left an impression on me for life from my first apartment, and she would give me the warmest welcome on my way to work every day. And then when I came home, she was the first to ask how my day was. And I will forever think of that curated home experience because of that concierge team member.
Now, Katie, if I'm not mistaken, though, this is not the Wizard of Oz. I didn't see anyone literally click their red slippers together to think of what home is. And in fact, if I was going to guess, home probably looks much closer to one of these three images for a lot of you. Maybe you thought about your relationship with your partner. Maybe you think about the quality time you spend with your kid. I hear a lot of you guys are watching Bluey with your kids. Or maybe you're like me and you're living the bachelor life and you look forward to going home and having a dance party with your dog. No judgment. The whole point is that the home experience is personal to you. It's that feeling of welcoming, being at home, that warm feeling that I think you alluded to. A lot of those words that you guys threw out really boil down to that. Now, what I did not hear from any of you guys were the words automation, centralization, smart home technology. No one thought of their Nest thermostat when we asked you to think of what is home like for you. Now, I want to introduce you guys to Operations Ryan Gosling. Okay?
And marketing Ryan Gosling.
And marketing Ryan Gosling. Now, Operations Ryan Gosling has a little bit of a conundrum because his owners are telling him, you need to do things like automation, centralization, maybe smart home technology, because there's a variety of factors and things that they're trying to accomplish at the business level. For a lot of operations team members, these are razor-thin margins, increased supply costs, labor issues, especially in the maintenance department. And so he's really feeling the pressure to deliver the day-to-day experience with his owner in his ear telling them that we need to hit these specific goals. Now, marketing Ryan, on the other hand, he's a little bit of a different situation. Gen Z is entering the rental market at a very high rate. We know millennials have taken over. We've just come out of a pandemic. And so he's trying to understand, what does the resident want in 2024? Is it different than what he wanted in 2014 or 2004? And he's trying to figure out, how can I sell that idea of a home in a way that's going to resonate with the renter in 2024. Now, if these guys are not on the same page, we have a little bit of an issue. Because everything that Operations Ryan Gosling should be doing should be in accordance with what marketing Ryan Gosling knows to be true about his customer. All right, he's the one in the data. He's the one that understands the customer. And if Operations Ryan is doing things without an idea of what he believes to be true, there's going to be a disconnect. Now, many of you guys may or may not know that satisfaction has trended down in our apartment industry over the last 3 years. Specifically, 2021, 22, and 23, we saw a decrease in resident satisfaction. And Katie and I strongly believe that this has a lot to do with these siloed operations and siloed marketing departments not working in tandem.
Now, I'm Katie Mancuso-Rice. I'm the Vice President of Sales and Marketing at JVM Realty. We're an owner-operator based out of Chicago, so I come from the lens of both sales and marketing, but we're going to break down those barriers with operations based on our MarTech solution that we have for our Class A portfolio.
And I'm Turner Batdorf. I'm the senior strategist at J. Turner Research. And before you guys start throwing stones at me saying I'm a vendor, how could I possibly know operations and marketing like you guys do and working for a property management company? I think that what we're going to talk about today works at any job, right? At any job you're at, you're going to have to work with people that think differently than you do. And I wanted to share a personal story because this is something that I feel like is very applicable to me. 4.5 years ago, I came from the golf industry, of all things, to work alongside my dad, who's here, at J. Turner Research. And as you guys can imagine, I've known my dad my whole life, but I did not know what it was like to work with him, and specifically how to work well with him. It's a totally different thing. And I'll tell you a little bit about my dad. He is a light bulb generator, okay? He gets a high off solving problems that people thought were unsolvable or maybe even didn't know existed. He wants to move the ship forward. He's incredibly creative and innovative. He does not want to get caught up in looking at a spreadsheet that has 10,000 rows of data and trying to find inconsistencies within it. He wants to be focused on pushing the ship forward. I, on the other hand, am the light bulb runner, okay? You give me a light bulb, I am gonna go make sure that thing is perfectly screwed in and the brightest light bulb that you could ever see. I get high off of doing a job well done, being accurate. I wanna make sure that in the present, we are doing all the quality checks that allow us to be proud of what we're putting out there. Now, I'm not gonna be someone that I'm gonna be more risk adverse than my father is, okay? I might be at times not able to push the ship forward because I'm so focused on the deck chairs being properly secured and being well staffed on the boat. So we had to learn how to work together. And when we do work together, it can be a very good operation. Now, there's a big difference between just being in our separate departments and doing what we're strong at and then learning to speak each other's languages. All right? My dad cannot come and just start throwing stuff at the wall and saying, we're doing X, Y, and Z, because he needs my buy-in in order to have that light bulb properly screwed in. He needs to give me the time to do the research, understand the solution, do all the safeguards that's not only gonna make it a job well done, but get me to get on board with what he wants to end up doing to solve the problem that we're facing.
Now, I know many of us wear different hats. We've got, we know Turner comes from the vendor partner side. We've got operators in the room. We've got marketing, operations. I think it's fair to say, and I think you can show us some of your hands, how often do you feel overlooked or at an impasse, or that you're feeling very misunderstood and you're continuing to try and get your point down across? What happens is, from our marketing lens specifically, we're curating the brand story. We're maybe doing a lease up, coming up with that brand identity. Maybe it's stabilization and maintaining that brand journey. We're getting prospects in the door so that way our operations teams can get those leases signed. We're figuring out what residents like, what they don't like, and it's very important for us to track and analyze that information. And we're strategizing how to take that information and get 5-star reviews. Now, operations, on the other hand, they're getting those leases signed, they're getting the renewals, they're getting retention. They are delivering everyday experiences at those properties that you're curating the brand message. And they also are acting to reduce those 1-star reviews. Now, it's fair to say, just like our Ryans, we need both of those films, right? We love them all. Many of you are in pink today, so I know you love Barbie. We need that secret sauce of delving in between both the marketing and operations lens.
And I think the good news is that we're not asking you guys to move mountains, right? If you guys are doing the things that are naturally good to you and just taking the extra time to work well together, this is going to come very organically. At J. Turner Research, we obviously breathe, eat, sleep, resident satisfaction, and online reputation in particular, and I think it is a great microcosm for understanding how these two departments should be working together when they're doing their jobs well. The average property out there gets about 5 to 10 reviews in a month if they're really focused on their online reputation. So it may look something like this. They got 6 5-stars in a month, maybe they had 2 1-stars trickle in, and so their average comes out to about a 4.0. Now, I know there's a bright crowd in this group here. You guys wouldn't be satisfied with just being slightly above the national average. You guys want to be in that elite tier. And the reality is you need to average on your reviews about 4.4, 4.5 to kind of be up into that threshold. Now, let's say Marketing Ryan is like, I'm really dialed in on my online reputation. This is my digital curb appeal. This is what I do. And so he's like, I'm going to work with our teams, and I'm going to find another wow moment to meet our residents, maybe a nice resident event, maybe some tacos, and we're going to get an additional 5-star review, and boom, our average shoots all the way up to 4.11. That's great, right? That's good. That's moving in the right direction, but still not quite where we want to be. On the other hand, if Marketing Ryan over here goes to Operations Ryan and says, listen, I've been monitoring our resident reviews. I'm using an AI product that breaks it down into operational performance. I've noticed that since we switched vendors of our trash management, we've seen a 20% increase in our 1-star reviews. I think if you have the teams do these quality checks on the product, we'll actually end up seeing less dissatisfaction and we'll be in a much better place. Operations Ryan goes, hey, that's a great idea. And he does exactly what Marketing Ryan is suggesting. All of a sudden, that 1-star goes off the board each month. And the average, as you can see, jumps up to 4.43, much closer to where we want to be at the end of the day. The point is that if Marketing Ryan was just trying to do this by himself, it would look like this. He'd have to get 12 5-star reviews to be able to offset the 1-stars that are inherently trickling in. And so I want you guys to understand that the shortest path to victory is working together. Shortest path to victory is working together because if we're taking the data that Marketing Ryan has and understands about our customer, and we're doing everything on the operations side with that always in mind, driving home that feeling of home, that personal warm feeling that we talked about, we're going to be inherently moving in the right direction and delivering a much more successful resident experience.
Now, as we're thinking of that, what are we going to learn today, Turner? Tell us what we're going to learn.
Yeah, well, they may be shocked to know that the resident in 2024 wants the same things that they've always wanted. It's the pillars of multifamily is what it boils down to, and I'm going to show you guys some data that really speaks to that. The residents want the same thing they've always wanted. They want that personal connection, specifically from your on-site teams. For everybody that is in marketing, like Marketing Ryan over here, we're going to show you how being able to speak to this in objective, measurable terms is much easier with AI. It's going to empower you to be able to go to the Operations Ryan within your team and be able to speak in a language that he understands.
And then from all that, I'm going to teach you how do you break down the silos. It's not going to be a set playbook that all of us can use. It's going to be dependent on the feedback that you have from your residents. But how do we work together? Because you all deserve ease in your everyday. And then how do we combine that to create a foundational strategy that you can take home? You know, you paid a lot of money to be here, right? How do you bring that back to your teams and execute with a strategy? Now, I'm asking you also today, think of 360 customer service. We want to see things through the lens of the customer, and the customer is actually everyone. Who do you work with? Who do you report to? Your residents, your prospects. Those are all customers. And just like Ryan Gosling had multiple sunglasses in Barbie, we want to ask you to always see through those various lenses to work best together. And with data, it can be that simple. I do promise you.
Yeah, that wasn't always the case. All right, you used to not have data that made it very simple for marketing and operations to be on the same page. I know this because at J. Turner, we work with hundreds of management companies, and I was on the front lines trying to help them see things to be able to understand their customer. We really have gotten in the belief of focusing on open-ended feedback. I think sometimes we get so caught up on the star ratings or Aura scores or whatever score that you guys utilize that we forget open-ended feedback can be so valuable. An online review is unprompted. Someone leaves a 1 to 5 star rating and they have a text box to type whatever is on their mind. There is nothing that says they need to talk about X, Y, or Z. They just have a free form to tell the world why they left that star rating, why they were dissatisfied, why they were satisfied. And so being able to get into that data and understand what is truly driving our satisfaction is invaluable. It is a gold mine. Now, as I mentioned, without AI, this had a high barrier to entry. I used to go through each of our clients' reviews, and I would categorize them for our customers, and I could do about 100 reviews an hour. Some of our clients got upwards of 1,000, 2,000 reviews in a month, so it was very time-consuming for me. And for a lot of you guys do not have the time to be doing that. Thankfully, with AI, you can begin to throw things into operational buckets that not only allow you to do this quicker, but again, give you a metric that is objectable. You can now begin to measure over time, do we have complaints in category X going up, going down? You're able to have something that measures how your residents are feeling about what you're doing operationally. At J. Turner Research, we do this through a tool called Einstein that I'm going to be showing you data from today. Just what Einstein does is it takes each thought within each review, puts it into one of 22 operational buckets specific to multifamily. It also categorizes each thought as positive, meaning a compliment, negative, meaning a complaint. The benefit of this is that we could take one resident who left you a 4-star review and say, all right, they were really happy with our customer service, but dissatisfied with our pest control, which is why they left us a 4-star. Now, if we zoom out and use something like Einstein to analyze a large sample of reviews, we begin to see drivers of satisfaction. For the purposes of today, I looked at a sample of 2 million reviews that went all the way back to 2003. And this is what the top most frequent categories were in those reviews. Now, right off the bat, I mentioned to you, our customer cares about the pillars of what you guys are doing every day. 66% of all reviews have some mention related to customer service. This is how helpful the staff is. What is their attitude like? What are their relationships like with the residents? 2 out of 3 people, when they had the opportunity to talk about their experience living on site, it boiled down to the relationships with your team members. Now at the bottom there you see communication at 16%. That's just very simply how well your teams are delegating information, sharing information, being transparent, open, giving them accurate data. That's what that boils down to. And in the middle 3, you see also another pillar of multifamily, which is just quality. Maintenance service, condition of the unit, condition of the amenities and common areas. All those things that are just very prevalent with home. They want to feel like they have a good, nice, safe home, and they want to feel like they have a connection to the people that are tasked with delivering that to them. Now, I really believe that this stuff is make or break for you. I put up the same data there on the left, and then I isolated the next 2 columns to show you dissatisfied drivers, which are the most complained about categories in 1- and 2-star reviews, and satisfied drivers, which are the most complimented categories in 4- and 5-star reviews. There's a lot of data on this slide, but I want you to notice the same things that cause people to be dissatisfied are the things that cause people to be satisfied as well. So the good news is if you're taking the time to really drill into this, it becomes a win-win. You're really preventing yourself from getting 1- and 2-star reviews, creating dissatisfied residents that may leave, but you're actually creating fans for life, people that are gonna want to renew with you, and will make them really happy. And the good news is this isn't asking you guys to do something that has a large capital expense. It's not something that is a foreign concept to any of you here. These are, again, the pillars of multifamily, getting back to the basics. Now, I mentioned the customer today feels they want the exact same things. So on the previous slide, we were looking at a sample of 2 million reviews that went back 20 years. These are just the categories that were mentioned the most often in 2023. And would you know it, it's the same 5 categories with basically equal the same percentages. Customer service still reigning supreme at 61%. Communication down there, and then right in the middle we have maintenance service, condition of the amenities, and condition of the unit. It's the same thing. Now, I did mention at the outset, we do have a little bit of a problem. Our residents have been saying that we aren't doing as good of a job in meeting them where they're at, delivering on that experience. We were looking at the frequency of reviews that had a compliment, reviews that had a complaint, and we went back all the way to 2003 to try to get a sense of the trend. If you look at the green line, which represents the percentage of positive comments coming in, you can see it's been on a steady incline over the last 20 years, Generally, reviews have gotten more positive, and as you can tell by the red line, reviews have gotten less negative. This peaked actually in 2020, at the height of the pandemic, where we saw that reviews were incredibly complimentary of what you guys were doing on site, and people showed a lot of grace. They did not go online and complain about the on-site experience because they understood that you guys were doing a lot of times the best you could given the circumstance. However, over the last 3 years, we see an inverse trend. The percentage of compliments has trended down, and the percentage of complaints has gone up. And obviously, your first question has to be, well, Turner, why is that? What are we doing? Where are we missing the mark? And the funny thing about it is it really boils down to the basics. Again, the pillars of multifamily. At J. Turner, we did a study called the Internet Adventure, where we interviewed prospects to understand their search experience, how they go about searching for an apartment community, and we asked them a variety of questions about their experience along the way. We found that 38% of them had an unanswered email during the process. Moreover, 37% of them had an unanswered phone call. Like, this is the most basic thing that we can be doing. They are searching for their most expensive purchase that they're gonna have every single month, and they aren't getting returned to their reach outs to your on-site teams. Now, if we bring it back to the Einstein data to look at the categories, the operational categories that are just being complained about the most frequently, you're gonna see something very similar. You're gonna see that, again, it's just the basics of what you guys are already doing. Maintenance service, we see condition of the amenities, communication, condition of the unit. A lot of the same things we talked about as being the most frequently mentioned, we're seeing those complained about at a much higher rate. Now, I do want to call your attention to number 1 and number 2 on this list because we haven't talked about them yet, but security and general cleanliness. Katie, when you were talking about what home is to you, you talked about this feeling of safety. I know a couple of you guys mentioned similar words to that as well. This is the number 1 thing that they're saying we aren't doing as good of a job in meeting them with in 2023. And that's shocking to me because, again, that just boils down to being able to properly deliver on that experience with home. Now, we talked about this. Operations Ryan has a lot of stuff on his plate and a very legitimate list of issues because at the end of the day, this is a business. We need to hit our margins. We need to hit our bottom line performance. But my question is of those things that he's doing, how often is he working with Marketing Ryan to ensure that it's really coming down to meeting the customer where he's at? Still keeping that sense of home in mind, because that is our product. We sell homes. We deliver an experience that relates to homes that is never going to change, whether it's 2024 or 2054. And like I said, this is make or break for us, but it can be a win-win if you do a good job. Doing things poorly in this regard is going to cause people to leave. We know all the things that we talked about as those operational categories have a very strong correlation to overall satisfaction. If people leave because you aren't meeting them where they're at, you're gonna encounter increasingly high turnover costs. However, if you do a good job with it, people are gonna be willing to spend more money with you than they would have at a lesser experience. So it's a huge opportunity for you guys, but you need to do it with the customer in mind. We worked with a company at J. Turner that had an issue with their maintenance team, and they really sought to address that through the centralization of maintenance. Now, I don't work in property management. I'm not going to say that I definitely know centralization can or can't work, but I do know that you have to understand your customer and make sure that whatever you're implementing on site does meet the customer at what they want and need. And this company was seeing a spike in their maintenance complaints, evidenced by that blue line in the graph. And they decided to switch over to doing centralized maintenance. And as you can tell from that red line, the number of complaints actually went up. So they sought to solve a problem, but they didn't meet the customer with what they were actually saying, how they were actually feeling. And so consequently, they ended up creating a bigger problem than what they solved for. So I would just urge you to have Operations Ryan really work in accordance with Marketing Ryan to ensure that when we are doing things, not only are we making sure we keep the customer in mind, but we have ways to measure to see if we are doing a better job of connecting with the customer and delivering a strong resident experience. So now what, right? I just given you a list of problems. I know this has been a fun conference, and we don't want to just sit here and I'll be all doom and gloom, right? We want to move forward, and Katie's going to give you a great playbook for doing that. But I think it really boils down to this. We know we need to do these things well. It's a lot of the categories we already talked about, those pillars of multifamily. And, like I said, we don't want to sit up here and just give you things, additional stats and information about why you need to care about those categories. That would be a waste of our time. I think you guys get the picture. But I do want to do a temperature check before we switch gears here. And let me just see a show of hands. How many of you guys were aware that satisfaction had trended down within the industry over the last 3 years? Okay, about a third of us. Good job, way to stay on top of your data. Question 2, raise your hand if you were surprised by what caused satisfaction to go down. Okay, I'm not surprised that we only have a few hands here. This is a smart marketing group. Most of you guys are in marketing and you have access to a lot of the same data that I do. But I'll leave you with this. If any of you guys were surprised by this, what was causing satisfaction to trend down, or by the fact that satisfaction was trending down at all, how would your operations teams feel? Operations Ryan is not looking at reviews the same way marketing Ryan is doing. He doesn't have the time. He's putting out fires on site. He's reporting to his owner. He has a lot on his plate. This really falls in marketing Ryan's bucket. The good news is, moving forward, many of you guys who are very similar to marketing Ryan hold the keys. You have access to this data. You can take the time to learn how to put it in language that operations Ryan is going to be able to resonate with. Like I said before, a few years ago, we didn't have AI tools that allowed us to understand and specifically quantify how our residents were feeling. We were left with survey scores and star ratings that kind of kept things within a black box. But now marketing Ryan can take something and say, look, our trash negative mentions have gone up by 20%. Now let's put in this new vendor and we can quantifiably measure whether that number goes down. Operations Ryan likes that. He's going to be able to understand that, and we're ultimately going to keep our end customer really in mind.
So when we live in a world right now where time is our greatest currency, how many of us wish we had more time in a day? And even when we had it, look, everybody wants it. Even if we had it, it still wouldn't be enough. So I want everyone to think of feedback as a gift. If someone is going to take time out of their busy day to leave a review, to complete a survey, to literally give you a playbook for what's going to make them happy, why wouldn't you use that feedback? Why wouldn't you let that be? Why would you try to outsmart it? Let's lean into that as we're thinking through this experience. Now, to understand the experience of those in the room, how many of you have worked on site? I started on site, okay. We got a healthy room this side of the room, okay. We've all worked on site. And how many of you are specific to marketing? All right, how many of you have ever lived in an apartment? Right, okay, we've all been residents. Again, we're thinking through that customer experience. We're gonna go through a journey of silos and non-silos. Scenario A, my man Ryan marketing over here, right? We're curating the brand. We're telling a story. We're getting the leads. We're sometimes helping the teams respond to those leads. We're generating reviews. Well, operations Ryan just got a 1-star review. He's not happy. He's not understanding why he's not getting it. He can't keep getting these 1-star reviews if we want the stellar customer service and have a strong Aura score to keep our resident retention. He's not listening, so instead he's like, get more 5-star reviews, get more 5-star reviews. Well, now this is just chaos, and it's a bunch of finger pointing, and people are feeling misunderstood. On the other token, he's working to make those residents satisfied, even though they're unhappy and they're yelling at him. We've got move-ins coming in, elevators are going down, pool parties are going on. Everything is happening to build that curated customer experience, but they just want you to get more 5-star reviews. It's that simple, right? It's really quite a combative environment, and we're working here in silos. Marketing is frustrated, and operations is offended. It's not a fun experience for anyone involved. Now, on the other hand, scenario B. Let's break down those silos for a second. Marketing Ryan sees that Gil has received 38 5-star reviews with his name mentioned recently. What if this Ryan asked, Gil, what are you doing to get those 5-star reviews? What experience are you providing? He's involving him in the process. And what if maybe they come up with a plan to understand not only what are you doing, taking a time to let our operations folks feel seen, heard, and valued, but implementing that into the playbook. They're listening to feedback. They're implementing strategy. They're allowing Gil now to teach other teams how he's doing that. Well, as a result, not only are 5 stars going up, so this Ryan's happy, but also 1 stars are going down. Everybody is driving that shortest path to victory. I want to ask you, as a resident, which scenario would you want to live in? Do you want to live in an environment where everyone working around you is in chaos? Or do you want to live in a harmonious experience where everyone's delivering you a comfort of home, how we defined earlier? As a result, C-suite's happy. You're getting that NOI. You're driving revenue. You're getting new leases. Marketing and operations, the Ryans are friends again. It's fantastic. It's a great movie. And the residents are referring all of their friends to help it all happen even faster. Now, that may seem simple, but that doesn't mean it's easy. I know this takes time. This is not something that you can go home and implement immediately, right? This is a curated experience. You need, many times, marketing and operations and sales is even a whole nother vertical, right? So what we need to think of is project management. I ask you, there are so many definitions, so many data points that we've learned already throughout the course of this conference. We need to narrow down with our teams what is specifically the problem we're trying to solve. As Turner was sharing earlier, we know exactly what those pain points are. Marketing knows where the residents are dissatisfied. Let's really narrow in and define that. What do we know to be true? What are they happy about? What are they satisfied with? How do we build on that momentum? What are we defining by success? Are we looking at star value? Are we looking at our Aura score? Are we looking at our retention numbers? Are we looking at conversion? It's going to be different for each and every one of you. What works for JVM may not be what the definition of a success is for you. We're looking at those KPIs as well. We want to get very clear with what we want to measure and how that's defining success. We have so much data we can look at. There's so much fruitful data. But let's really hone in when we're defining this project and collect feedback. We got feedback from Gil. We got operations giving us what works for them. Let's also collect feedback, involve people in the process so we can truly define that success. And what are the expectations? What is the timeline of this project? When do we see the needle moving and how quickly do we want it to move? And you need to be disciplined year over year, month over month, and instill a culture where everyone is wanting to see things through the lens of the customer. Now, this approach is not new. I'm not telling you anything that's rocket science here, right? However, the technology today is allowing marketers to leverage data. Ryan is working a whole lot faster because of the tools that Turner is sharing. We are able to refocus and work faster to drive resident satisfaction as a result of this technology. Now, I want you to think of what is a brand. If you work for an owner-operator, if you are third-party management, your property, even heck, if you're a vendor, the definition of a brand is a story that's always being told. And your reputation is built on the stories we share. We can curate a journey as marketers. However, what's being said when we're not in the room? That's what your real brand is. Now, when you think of that brand as well, the speed of response is a form of caring. We know as satisfaction has gone down in the past 3 years that it is important for us to act now. We need to work collectively as our teams to address and hear what our residents are saying, and we need to respond because when we're residents, we expect that. Why wouldn't we deliver that experience? So Jay Bear is also a fantastic person. If you do not follow him, there's a lot of great data he could share. I'll only share a few points with you today. But 49% of customers are less likely to spend money when a brand is taking longer to respond to them. We saw those communication woes earlier. We need to respond to our customers. It's just as important to respond as it is to deliver that experience. Now, when I moved from on-site, I was fortunate to start my journey there. I had the privilege of a fantastic mentor that gave me a frame and a mantra, if you will, that's actually framed in my office, and I encourage you to think of it. But when you're feeling intensely or reactively, these Ryans are angry. They're very frustrated with each other. It's easy to point fingers and blame. But I challenge you to delay, analyze, and bring in a view of others to behave with emotional intelligence. We have so much data to use, but we have to pause and really understand the lenses of the different Ryans, the lenses of our different customers, in order to cohesively work together. This all wouldn't be possible also without employee recognition. I talk a lot about the flywheel effect. Experience creates belief, belief creates action. For all of that project management to come to life, you really need to have a curated experience to involve your teams. What recognition are you offering them when they deliver 5-star service? How are you involving them in the process? And maybe we're giving them a commission structure based on the performance they're achieving. Maybe we are doing contests over the years. Who's achieving the elite 1%? How are we rewarding them for that behavior? We really want to continue to reward good behavior so they continue to inspire others at other properties or others at their property. Now, we all know a day in the life is crazy. And I think it's fair to say whether you're an operator, a vendor, or a marketer, marketers, this is a meme, if you haven't seen this before, I come to quite often, but everything light touches is our problem to fix, right? It's not the case, right? Okay, that's exactly how I feel every day. It's like, okay, I'm gonna fix everything. But in reality, I challenge you to slow down. We appreciate everything you do. We know this is not easy. And just remember that every day in the life looks a little bit different for each of us, and it may feel that chaotic as well. So we wanna work together. And when we defined a brand, and if we're thinking of a brand as a story that's always being told, what story do you wanna tell?
Well, we thank you guys very much for taking the time to join us. Hopefully you have a cocktail in hand at this point, but this is not something that is easy, but as we've said, it is 100% necessary. If you want to be successful, especially as the market begins to take a turn, you have to do this. There's just no way around it. Like I said, our product boils down to what marketing Ryan understands, which is that we need to be delivering on that experience of home, and it's the exact same thing it's always been, but it may look a little bit different in 2024, and we have to keep what operations Ryan is facing in mind to be able to do it. So there needs to be cohesion. It is simple. It's not easy. This is going to take time for many of you guys to be able to implement changes within your own companies, but we want to be able to help you. So if you scan the QR code, you can find ways to contact both Katie and I. I have access to tons of data, but she has done this successfully at multiple companies. So I really encourage you to reach out to her. She is a great mentor and resource to be able to help you with this. And then if you go to the next slide, we have additional resources and a question forum for you here as well. So if you want access to some of the books, some of the studies we covered, you can scan the QR code and there's additional material that you can get into to continue furthering your education on your flight home. And please, we also put the link to the Barbie movie just in case anyone has no idea what we're talking about. But yeah, please leave questions. We want to let you guys leave thoughtful questions on there without taking up anyone's time because I know happy hour is following here. So thank you guys so much for having us.
Thank you.